Welcome back into the show right here on Metabolic Coaching. That's right, metabolic-coaching.net. Of course, cut the killer carbs. And, of course, Dr. Justin Anderson not with us today. But we have Dr. Blake Gafford is filling in with Audrey Key for Dr. Anderson, who's out. I think he's in surgery this morning or something, so not with us. But welcome to the show, Dr. Gafford and Audrey Key, back with us for a second time. And it was a great show when you were here last time because you always bring goodies, you know, and I just love your products. And, of course, these are available at Farmers Market, right?
Right.
And you're getting ready, Audrey, to, I guess, open up a store, right, at some point?
Well, not anytime real soon, but hopefully someday.
Man, this is good stuff. Heaven sent gluten-free foods. It's wonderful. Of course, along the way, if you want to comment questions, you can always do that. 745-5800. Text in available 806-745-5800. But also a special guest, Dr. Blake Gafford, is here as well. And we're going to talk about a wide range of issues today on the show. Everything from diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, autoimmune diseases, back and joint pain, liver disease, cancers of all types. We probably, by the way, won't get to all of this today. This is a long list of things. And also, Dr. Anderson provided me some stuff for the show as well. But basically, to introduce Dr. Gafford and what he does. And, of course, Dr. Gafford, he advocates for gluten, grain-free, sugar-free, low-carb, and high-fat diets. Of course, we talk about this a lot here on AM 580, and really in social media, it's taken off by storm. We'll talk about that. Of course, Dr. Gafford advocates for bone broth and benefits of, for the leaky gut stuff and bones and systems of the body. He helps manage pain, remove viruses, old viruses, for example, using different styles of acupuncture, which is really cool. I've had acupuncture before. We're talking about 5,000-year-old medicine that works. The Chinese do a great job with this. He's also a herbal pharmacist and assesses each problem and decides whether it should be treated herbally or acupuncture or both in conjunction. And he also has knowledge of many, many holistic ways of healing the body with all of the above and through supplementation. He is a doctor of Chinese medicine and has a degree from the college in Austin. He teaches Chinese principles and how they view different elements and how they affect your body. So welcome to the show, Dr. Gafford. Glad to have you as well, sir.
It's great to be here.
It's going to be fun. An herbalist, acupuncture stuff, we don't talk about a lot, and I'm glad you're here because I have a lot of questions as it pertains to that, because I've been through it. I've had acupuncture with, what was her name, Sung? Dr. Sung?
Dr. Jung.
Jung. Yeah, she's out at Health Sciences Center, or was. I don't know if she still is. It's been many years ago. But at first I thought, this is just I don't know, the needles. It's kind of goofy, but it does work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And depending, and it's so weird how the nerves of the body, once stimulated in certain parts, can affect other parts of the body and correct ailments. I mean, I find that just totally mind-blowing and fascinating because our body is so intricate, and the nervous system and how it all works and everything is pretty cool stuff. So what do y'all want to talk about primarily today? I mean, of course, we know diabetes is on the rise. It's not getting any better. Of course, Audrey is helping out in that regard by creating foods for people to eat that are not going to stimulate insulin production and cause problems and inflammation. We talked about, Audrey, this last time on the show about how that a lot of times it's what we're putting in our mouth that's causing us problems. I mean, we all know that now, right? But whether it's diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, the autoimmune diseases, those kinds of things, where would y'all like to start with some of this and just what are you seeing out there, and what are some of the things and treatments and ways we ought to look at in combating these inflammation processes and problems that we see so often?
Autoimmune disease is one of the biggest that I see, and it's just a huge epidemic, really. And a lot of people don't even realize that they have a particular autoimmune disease. They may just think that their joints hurt or something like that. They haven't even gotten diagnosed yet. That is one of the bigger autoimmune diseases are really one of the bigger issues. And it's because it goes right back to grains. Grains are a real, it's a culprit. It's something that has caused a lot of the problems that we see.
Puts it on fire, right?
And
it's like gas to fire.
Exactly. And as long as people are continuing to have those, it's almost impossible for this situation to resolve itself.
Now, when we talk about autoimmune diseases, we're talking about Hashimoto's, thyroidism, fibromyalgia, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, rheumatoid arthritis, arthritis in general, lupus. I mean, that's when we say autoimmune diseases, that's what we're talking about, right?
That's right, yeah.
And a lot of these, under modern medical situations, it's, well, we don't really know, but here's a pill.
Yeah.
And therein lies the problem. Some people may get some relief from that, okay, but it's just masking it. It's not really getting to the root cause of what autoimmune diseases are doing to the body, right?
That's absolutely correct. And oftentimes what happens is that you may go to the doctor and they run some tests, and they see that first they may see that some non-specific inflammatory factors have risen in the body. So that's like the erythrocyte sedimentation rate, or it's C-reactive protein or something like that, and that clues them in that something's going on. So then they may take some more specific tests and want to see exactly, look at anti-rheumatoid factors, or I may look at anti-nuclear antibodies or something like that to see if you have a very specific type of autoimmune disease. And then you get a diagnosis, and then at that point, it's as you said, it's a pill. It could be something like methotrexate, just to staunch the immune system,
right? Which
is fighting what in my view, from a classical Chinese medicine perspective, is actually a virus that has a virus or a bacteria or fungus or something that has actually embedded itself into maybe a joint or a particular part of the body. And the reason that we're actually having autoimmunity is not that the body we're told that the body just is kind of confused. It's attacking itself, and we don't really know why. The Chinese had an approach, and they really knew why some of these things would happen. They saw them even in 5,000 years ago. It was more rare than it is now, but they saw them. What they found was that it was a lot of pathogens. They would call them cold pathogens if they were viruses, or heat pathogens, or damp heat pathogens. They'd have different language, but it would
even 5,000 years ago.
Even 5,000 years ago.
How would they know 5,000 years ago about? I mean, it's just mind blowing that they would know. I mean, it's really a miracle, I think, that they would understand the connection there between that, 5,000 years ago.
Absolutely, yeah. They had different language. They didn't necessarily call it a virus or something like that, but they knew that it would come into the body.
Some kind of environmental deal.
And it was environmental. It was attached to certain environmental influences, and so we all know that we get in the cold weather, we come down with a virus. We get a cold, we get a flu, we get something like that, right? But they would have these pathways that are mapped out, and so it could go to something called the channel divergences, and then eventually it would get stored in the joints, which is they had these maps of what are we call meridians, but they correlate and they correspond with a lot of biomedical tissues that we know about. So lymphatic tissues or things like that that'll end in joints or travel through various places in the body and create a lot of inflammation and havoc when those viruses begin to come out. If we get stressed, if we get weak, if something like that happens, then it begins to come out. And then our immune system begins to attack that. So
and the body essentially kind of turns on itself at that point and causes all kinds of problems. Now, Audrey, did you have any issues with this kind of stuff on your journey back to good health?
I did, and it's kind of odd to me, but God works in mysterious ways.
Sure.
Because I actually went to Dr. Gafford because I had a frozen shoulder, and he was working out the rest of the problem that I was having with that. But in the meanwhile, he said, he treated me one week, and then the next week I came back and he said, well, if you've had mono or some really bad virus, it'll get stored in your joints. And I said, well, I had mono. And so we worked for several months to rid that, from my body. And, in modern medicine, or Western medicine, whatever you want to call it, they told me, well, that will reside in your body, as long as you live. We'll see it on your blood work and all that. And so, to me, I think it's a miracle that they're able to rid your body of that with their divergence. Isn't that
amazing?
Yes.
Because what it did, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Gafford, but so when you got mono and you were obviously unhealthy lifestyle at that point, your immune system's suppressed already because you're overweight, eating unhealthy foods, doing all the things that we know that are bad for us, and you pick up a virus and you get really sick, then the body kind of turns on it to try to fight it, but then sometimes it goes a little haywire, turns on itself as well in the process. Right. And that's when the inflammation starts. And so then you freeze your shoulder up and you're like, I can't move that. After, that's the mono's over here now, but it's in this. So you go see Dr. Gafford and we get that fixed.
And the mono was like 19 years ago. So it had been sitting there
dormant
all those years. But in the meanwhile, I was having all of the other issues, fibromyalgia. I started having Crohn's. I started having the chronic inflammatory bladder disease. I had thyroid. I mean, you just go down this list of diseases. I don't have all of those, but
were these yours?
No, not all of them.
I was like, oh my goodness.
A lot of them are, and were. So I know firsthand, what happens when you have that virus residing in your body and it's sitting there. And I'm sure lots of our listeners have things that they've endured, just the same.
Here's what I've experienced, and again, and I know Dr. Gafford, and I didn't mean to interrupt, so we'll get back to what you were saying, because I think what you're saying is very, very important. But in my own case, when I was utilizing acupuncture at the time for treating some low back pain and things like that, and it worked, but the problem is it works, but if you don't do the other necessary things in conjunction with the acupuncture, for example, then it comes right back.
Right.
And that part is what I didn't get 6 years ago. Absolutely. 6 years ago, it was like, okay, well, I feel a lot better now, and it would last for a few weeks or whatever between treatments. But if I didn't change what I ate and my lifestyle, then I would be, it wouldn't be a permanent fix.
Absolutely.
So even with Chinese medicines, for example, and that being one, acupuncture or even herbals or whatever, you can take this stuff and you can feel better. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, okay, if you want to do that for the rest of your life, that's one, but that's not a way to go. You have to look at the whole body, not just one element. And that's what I was trying to do with the acupuncture years ago, is saying, well, okay, I'm going to go get this, but I can still, live like the devil and eat what I want and drink what I want, and that's not a way to go. Does that make sense?
That's absolutely correct. Mm-hmm. And what, because what I think probably what you experienced with the low back pain that would come back, is that, and it does take time, and these are, treatment. Acupuncture does take, it's just like physical therapy or psychological therapy or anything. It's a therapy that works and has efficacy over, many sessions. But if you don't change certain things that you're eating or certain lifestyle adjustments,
you got to do that.
You're not a good Chinese doctor, and this goes way back in Chinese medicine, would be would have multiple tools in his box, and he would always recommend, hey, if someone's drinking a bunch or someone's eating a bunch of just junk. I mean, they didn't have typical junk food back then, but people would eat kind of some slop sometimes, and the idea was that you need to eat a little bit more regular diet, and you need to do some of these things, or we need to take some of these foods out of your diet.
So the Chinese understood that even thousands of years ago, even about the diet and the process.
Absolutely.
Wow,
Absolutely.
I did not know that.
Yeah, even if you had the common cold, there's certain things that you could take this herb formula, but they would say it's not going to work unless you take out certain foods. You can't eat, for instance, cheese or old fish or old meat, and then a lot of other grains. They would say rice is okay. Now I can get to something about the Chinese that's a little different. They consume a lot more grains, and a lot of times they can get away with it because they have some anatomical differences that are a little different than us in the West.
Well, and besides that, they probably have such good balance on the other end of the spectrum that it allows for that, right?
It allows them to be able to get away with some things, yeah.
Yeah, whereas we in the typical American diet, it is atrocious.
It is, yeah.
I mean, it's sad. I mean, when I'm walking around the grocery store now, after doing hours and hours, I've been doing this for over 20 years on radio, all kinds of medical shows, over 20 years. And I've learned a lot from having experts such as yourself on the show. I mean, y'all, I learn every time y'all come out. But I will tell you, and by no means I'm not saying I'm a subject matter expert, but you can't help but pick up stuff, I mean, after hosting shows like this. But when I'm in the grocery store and I just casually glance in people's baskets on what they're buying and what they're eating, and it's just highly processed, highly refined sugar garbage. And then you look at them and they're typically overweight, they don't feel good. They're definitely not exercising. I mean, it's really bad, and you know that they're in chronic pain, and you just want to stop and say, have you heard the news? This is what you don't want to do if you really want to have a full life and not be sick all the time. You need to stop that right there. But I mean, of course, you're not going to walk up to somebody in a supermarket and do that. But I see that all the time, and food manufacturers are guilty of this. They want you addicted to their products. They stick in chemicals and things you can't even pronounce, and you read on the label and you're like, if I don't know what it is, I don't want to eat it. That's kind of my motto now, looking at this stuff. But it's really, really but things are changing. People are starting to wake up, become educated about this, and seeking out people that are in the know that can help them through these challenges.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. It is sad to see when people are eating a bunch of junk, and not, some people can get away with some things, and some people can eat grains, and it's not a problem. But
true.
It's sad, and it's sad that the message is starting to get out there, but it needs to. There's a significant number of people that I see even who come in, and they've seen a lot of different medical professionals, and they come in and they're looking for a last resort, and I have to educate them about just even wheat or gluten or something like that. So it's not out there as much as it should be, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe. And again, you're probably right, doctor, because I'm probably living in a bubble, because I talk about this with other doctors all the time, and we do a show on Monday, we do today's show, we have a show on Thursday, another medical doc on, and we talk a lot about this kind of stuff from a medical perspective, and what is the newest thing. I mean, what are the studies showing? Now, the key is that I think that we are bridging the gap between orthodox medicine, Western style medicine, as Audrey they're talking about, and some of these other practices and principles. I think we're getting closer to becoming somewhat a crossover where, even your primary care physicians, your PCPs, are going, yeah, I've heard of that. Maybe I'm not totally on board, but there may be, hey, if you feel good, let's try it. I mean, you're starting to see that, where people obviously are just sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're doing a lot of their own homework and research, and maybe listening to shows like this as well, and hearing these new things that they've never been exposed to before, and go, wow, maybe I ought to research on that. Maybe I ought to look at what they're talking about. Maybe that's my problem. And starting to recognize. So more and more Americans are, I think, not a majority, by the way, but more and more Americans that are truly concerned about their overall health care are starting to seek out different answers as opposed to, hey, give me a chemical drug to fix me.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You are seeing that more and more now, and people. I think it's that people have gone the drug route, and something like methotrexate, for instance, we talked about earlier.
Okay.
It's used in a lot of cases of rheumatoid arthritis. People have a lot of joint pain, and there's a virus that has embedded itself in the joints. And your immune system is doing what it should be doing. It's trying to attack the virus. It's trying to get it out. But what happens is that you take something that's an immunosuppressant, and it staunches that from happening. It keeps it from happening. It just suppresses your immune system entirely. It would be like if ISIS invaded the United States. Normally, our military should be, defending our border, right? But if we had to declare martial law and our military went into the interior of the country and was fighting ISIS everywhere, and there's a lot of collateral damage, and there's a lot of other problems, and citizens getting killed, and things that are blowing up as a result. That's like what it is, and it would be like
that's
saying.
A great analogy. I like that military analogy.
It would.
That's really true. That's really what happens in the body.
And it's funny. It's funny because you're seeing a rise in autoimmune diseases as you're seeing some of these other things, and that's something the Chinese had talked about, how that we're a microcosm of the macrocosm. And then a lot of times you would see these things happening, on the outside as well, but. But yeah, that's exactly what's happening in the body, and it would be like saying, "Hey, we just want to get rid of all military funding." That's what like a certain drug that suppresses your immune system does, and then you start getting a lot of other viruses and other things that would just come into your body, and you could die from even just pneumonia or something like that. That'll happen as a consequence of being on that drug, and so people are seeing that more, and I think they're moving away. People are taking a little bit more of an initiative in their own healing, because they're realizing that the solutions that are out there are limited, and they have side effects that are
well, the body's an amazing thing. I mean, it was created by God in a way that, if given the proper nutrition, the proper things, the proper minerals and vitamins and those kinds of things, and operating efficiently, it tends to take care of this stuff on its own.
That's right.
But again, we live in a pill popping world.
That's right. That's right.
And there again, I repeat this over and over again, but therein lies the problem. We have this McDonald's, to use McDonald's analogy, this McDonald's attitude of, I want to go, I don't feel good today. I want to go through the drive-through. You hand me something through the window, I'll drive away, I'll take it, and I'll be completely cured. Or if I have to go through every day and get it so I don't feel pain, I'll do that as well. And I think therein lies the problem with Western medicine. We've been trying this for over 70 years now, pushing synthetic pills. Okay, hey, and sure, don't get me wrong, some of them work, some of them are life-saving. I'm just arguing the fact that there's a lot of this stuff that once you get your blood sugars under control, you get the body reacting appropriately to some of these diseases, that a lot, and Audrey, you know what I'm talking about, because we talked about it last time when you were on the show, you can start getting off a lot of these chemicals that may be causing damages in other parts of the body while helping one aspect, but then causing problems on the other end of it.
That's right.
I mean, there's so many people out there, unfortunately, that once you get on a drug, then, here's a second drug to counteract that drug, or the side effects of that drug. And then you end up people who are on 15, 20, 25 different chemical drugs.
That's
Or
right.
you have a situation where you have internal medicine docs or PCPs and other cardiology or whatever, and everybody's prescribing certain different things, and all these chemicals are floating around in the body, and you just feel crummy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no duh. Who wouldn't have taken that much stuff? I'd feel I wouldn't. I'd hate it. I'm thankful that at my age, and I'm in my upper 40s, I take no drugs. I am not on any kind of medication. And, about that age range is when people start saying, I can't believe you're not on medication. I mean, aren't you on at least hypertension or something? No. Well, why not? Well, because I'm trying to watch that. And then if I need to lower blood pressure, I drink some beet juice. I mean, just whatever. But I'm just saying, but knowledge is powerful. And that's what it's all about. But you can, I see, when people have these problems and say, okay, there is another way, right, to address these issues.
There is another way. There are other options and other things out there. A story I always like to tell is in China. In China, they have a pretty integrated approach, and they take in modern China. You have MDs. They're trained in Western medicine, but those MDs are also trained in Chinese medicine. And they're trained in some herbs, they're trained in acupuncture, so they're trained in a multitude of approaches. And so a lot of times you may go into the hospital if you have gallstones that are killing you. And over here, we really just have one paradigm. And so if you had gallstones, they just remove your gallbladder. And in China, they take an interesting approach where they would still do a HIDA scan or an ultrasound, and what they would be looking to see is how big are the gallstones, and could those gallstones pass through the bile duct. If it can't, then it's a medical emergency, and that gallbladder does need to be removed. But most cases, it's not. In most cases, it can be broken up. Those stones can pass through. There's some great herb formulas to be able to help that, and there's also acupuncture to be able to help that. The acupuncture actually stimulates the gallbladder to begin to move. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Some people will come in and they have a big gallbladder attack. They've eaten a bunch of fried chicken the night before or something like that, and I've had some people come in and they have this happening, and I'll tell them, okay, well, let's do some acupuncture, and let's give this a whirl. At some point, they need to have a HIDA scan and ultrasound and things like that done, just in case it's one of the more rare types that would not resolve through acupuncture or herbs. But absolutely, acupuncture really stimulates it, and people will leave without any pain, and it's pretty remarkable.
That is amazing. But again, it also comes back to why the stones in the first place.
Why are they there in the first place? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly the case. In Chinese medicine, even I will have people come to me and they say, okay, can you just give me an herb to help this problem? And people are still in that pill popping mode, and what they really need is some dietary measures. They need some big changes to happen on a day-to-day basis, because the Chinese believe this: the most powerful medicine is the medicine that you can give yourself every day. That just as Hippocrates said, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. It's something that you're nourishing yourself with every day.
Yeah.
And by having, for instance, grains. We were talking about autoimmune disease and why grains can cause some of that, and grains can cause all kinds of things, but it can absolutely cause symptoms of a gallbladder attack, for instance. And I've had to tell people you cannot consume gluten, because what gluten will do is it inflames your bile duct, and this gets. And one level deeper, it can also even be, there's a lot of viruses that go into the liver and gallbladder, and that they're already creating a lot of the inflammation, which is why the stones occurred in the first place. But also, those grains are actually feeding those viruses. Then what we see from another perspective is that it's creating a lot of inflammation, and that bile duct is things aren't able to pass through because the wall of it is basically thinner.
Yeah.
Or thicker, I mean, and so nothing can pass through there. And so people will, a lot of times, I've had a patient who, she kept having symptoms of gallbladder attack every time, not after she ate fried chicken or anything like that, after she had wheat bread. She would have symptoms of a gallstones. So it's absolutely imperative that people have to change those things in order to be able to heal. They
for
can't
long term.
For long term.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like I said,
Absolutely.
I can come to you and you can perform acupuncture on me or give me an herb and make me feel better for that day, next week, or the week after. But if I'm not changing the lifestyle, I'll be either right back into you, just like I would at a primary care physician, doc in the box, or because I would be, in fact, in a way, using you as I would a chemical drug to do the same thing, which is worse. But I would have to, again, I'm not getting to the root cause.
Right.
I'm using different therapies that make me feel better. But unless I'm willing to make the lifestyle change, then I'm always going to have to use something to deal with the issue. It's not a one-time quick fix on that deal.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Wade. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
Good. Hey, Doc. I've been told I'm not ever going to have gallstones because I'll eat quite a bit of lemon during the week. 6-7 slices of lemon. But I pack my lunch every day, and my wife buys wheat bread because she said white bread is worse for you. What kind of bread are you supposed to eat?
Well, I hate to tell you this, but neither one of those. If you have some conditions that are lingering around in your body. Now, some people, I will tell you this, some people do not have a lot of issues. A lot of people don't have high blood pressure or heart disease or any autoimmune diseases or anything like that.
Well, I actually take blood pressure medication.
You do?
But,
okay. Absolutely. It's possible. There's a lot of reasons that hypertension can occur. It can be a mineral imbalance. It can be a diet, a long-term diet. It can be alcohol.
My dad had it.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that can cause it. But one factor can be gluten. Wheat gluten will inflame because it can create inflammation all throughout the body. And so grains themselves, and wheat being the biggest culprit, can cause a lot of arterial inflammation, and then it leads to hypertension.
You just don't eat sandwiches. It's better than going to McDonald's or something. I mean, I just always thought packing a lunch was healthier for you, but I guess I need to completely change my lunch routine, huh?
You can always make sandwiches on romaine lettuce leaves, and it's really tasty that way.
Yeah, just cut the bread.
Mm-hmm. Just cut the bread out.
That's what my wife does.
Yeah.
She eats a hamburger with
my
lettuce wrap.
guys won't give me a hard time about that, will they, Wade?
No, not at all, brother.
That's a manly sandwich there, buddy.
But if you don't want to have the lettuce, just roll the meat and cheese up. You can always just, make meat and cheese rolls.
Or I tell you what, there's a way you can make it. You can use bacon, and you can have the bacon stacked so that it one of them is on top of the other. There's if you just Google bacon sandwich, this would be the most manly sandwich of all. Oh. You use bacon as the bread, and you have something in the inside. Yeah, that would be.
Golly, you think that'd be more unhealthy than wheat bread, wouldn't you?
Yeah, man.
Just make sure it's uncured bacon, and you want it to be real, from a real high quality source like pasture raised pork and things like that. Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, there you go.
Hey, great show. Talk to you later.
Thanks for the call, Butch. Appreciate it. All right, we'll take a quick break here, listen to this word and from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with more. Again, if you have a question along the way, 745-5800. Dr. Blake Gafford here on the show, Audrey Key as well, and, of course, Heaven Sent Gluten Foods. And we'll be talking more about that on the other side. Stick around. Welcome back into Metabolic Coaching, of course, from Metabolic Research, and, of course, you can check it out, metabolic-coaching.net. Got Dr. Justin Anderson, not with us today. He'll be back, I think, in a couple. Are you back next week too?
No.
No, somebody is. Somebody's coming in. Maybe you. I don't know. I forgot, but I think he's out next week too. Surgery today, surgery next week, I think. But nevertheless, you can always reach out to Dr. Anderson, 448-0322. That's 448-0322. Of course, along the way, if you have any questions, 745-5800, you can text in as well. 806-745-5800. Of course, our guest today on the show, Dr. Blake Gafford, and, of course, Audrey Key, who has the very fine foods of Heaven Sent Gluten-Free Foods, and brought me a cinnamon roll muffin. Now, you brought not just one, but several. And these are wonderful. I appreciate that once again. Always love your foods, and, of course, you can pick those up at Farmers Market, or you can order them online as well, right?
You can order through my Facebook or Instagram page.
Okay, and it's Facebook, Heaven Sent Gluten. What is it on Facebook?
I think it's under Heaven Sent Gluten Free Foods, and then Instagram is Heaven Sent Gluten Free. I think it wouldn't allow for the whole name.
On Instagram.
Or GF Foods, I think.
Okay, yeah, but there you go to see it, and you have a lot of different products there. I mean, a lot of different products from
muffins,
to,
granola, jam, bread.
Yeah.
Birthday cakes by special order.
What about that bread, since we had the call, from Butch? I mean, your bread would be better.
I sell basic bread, and if you special order it from me, then you get a full loaf, which makes perfect sandwich bread.
Is that better than just buying wheat bread from the store?
Oh, yes. Bread, anything made with flour of any kind, wheat, white, any kind of flour is bad.
Right.
So I make the basic bread is made with coconut flour and eggs and, some other things, but it is a really good bread to use for French toast or sandwiches or paninis or grilled cheese.
Does your bread not stop, but is it a lower insulin response to the bread you have as opposed to that all 100% wheat bread that people normally think is so healthy from the groceries? Explain the difference. I mean, if you can, between, because I think a lot of people, and back to Dr. Gafford's point, is that they think that they're doing something right, like in Butch's case where he said, oh, well, my wife gets this 100% whole grain wheat bread, which is supposed to be good for you, but not so fast because of the, it can start up with the problems of the insulin plus the what am I trying to say?
A lot of inflammation, yeah.
Yes.
A lot of inflammation.
Well, the what's the word I'm looking for? I went blank. Not glycemic.
Well, the glycemic index is higher on bread.
Gluten free. I was thinking gluten free.
Oh yeah.
So, but your is it gluten free?
It's gluten, sugar, and grain free.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get. Okay, he did text in about rice flour.
Rice flour is not good as well, and I don't use it.
You don't?
I only use coconut or almond flour. And the bread, I want to tell you, on the bread, if you cut the large loaf of bread into 18 slices, each slice is 5.65 net carbs, which is pretty low carb, as far as bread goes. If you were to eat, so you would use 11 carbs if you had 2 slices of bread with a sandwich.
Oh, that's good.
If you were to eat typical white or wheat bread, I don't even know the carb count of it. Somebody might have to call in and tell us what it says on their bread bag. But you would spike your sugar level higher than if you ate a Snicker bar just by eating 2 slices of bread or toast. Your insulin
not
level
good.
spikes higher
Which,
with bread and wheat than it does eating a Snicker bar, which neither one is good for you, but that just goes to show you how wheat will raise your insulin level.
and your breads don't do that.
Right. They don't do
Okay,
that.
okay.
They don't have the basic bread doesn't have any sweetener in it whatsoever. It's really based with eggs, almond milk, and cashews and coconut flour.
Will you bring me some of that next time?
Sure.
I'd like to see. I've just heard of it. I've never really tasted it before. I'm sure it tastes wonderful.
It's really good. And I'll have samples at the farmer's market, and people will try it. And little kids sometimes will make a face like they're not really crazy about it, but almost every adult that tries it loves it.
Yeah, because the muffins I've had of yours, and they're wonderful. I mean, they really are good.
Yeah.
Like that blueberry one I had. The
blueberry banana.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank
I mean,
you.
that was. I mean, I'm like, really? I don't need to eat sweets. I got this. I mean, it really, because if you do it right and you know what you're doing, I mean, it makes perfect sense. So,
Well, and with the basic bread at Thanksgiving, I made the basic bread and cut it into cubes and made Thanksgiving and Christmas dressing just with my grandmother's recipe, but using that bread, and it tasted really good.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's a really versatile bread.
So if you want to send the kiddos off to school, because my wife's a health coach. I mean, she's totally into this. This would be perfect for the kids too. I mean, because they're always like eating sandwiches.
Right.
I like a good sandwich, but I want to make sure if I put a bread on there, that's the best high quality I can find,
Right.
and then just not some Wonder loaf from the grocery store that's horrible,
Right.
that's full of chemicals that I can't even pronounce. That's not a good way to go.
No,
Yeah.
it's not a good way.
And I'm always shocked that even on the higher end so-called wheat breads, that if you really read the label on there, some of those so-called healthy breads, there'll be high fructose corn syrup in those breads. And I don't understand. I'm thinking, why would they stick that in a bread? Well, obvious.
It makes you taste better, and it makes you crave more and more carbs.
But it's supposed to be a healthy wheat bread, and they've got high fructose corn syrup in there.
Yeah.
Which is really not good for you.
No.
Yeah.
It's better to do without if you're going to have to eat that.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's tough in the sense that we have to know these things to eat right. And but I'd be curious on. I want to do the bread that you're talking about. I think that would be great.
All of her products, by the way, are incredible. I can vouch the taste when you hear about, okay, it's healthy, it doesn't have this and that, and even the muffins are no sugar in them.
Right.
And you would think that it would be awful, because most of the things that we have that have sugar in them, or that are sugar-free, are sweetened with aspartame or something like that, which is awful for you in a whole other
that is
reason.
not good.
but hers are sweetened with xylitol, and it is incredible. You cannot tell not only can you not tell the difference, not just me, everyone who's ever tried her muffins, they say they rant and rave about them. They're the best. They're incredible. They're so moist.
I couldn't tell the difference either. I mean, that blueberry banana nut bread that she brought last time, that Audrey brought, and I took it home. I mean, and there was just a couple of pieces. It didn't last 5 seconds. Right. I mean, it was really good. I was like, whoa, this. I mean, it really. I mean, I love blueberry muffins. I really do. And there's still a few restaurants around town that serve them. And I would scarf those things down. I mean, even some of your healthier like Super Salad. I'll just say, I'll call them names on some of them. They've got blueberry muffins in there. And, of course, they have the healthy salad bar over there. Okay, granted, it's not organic salads and all that, but they got a salad bar. And it's a pretty good salad bar. But then I go through that, and I'm like looking over at that piping hot blueberry muffins they pull out, and I'm like, man, I eat one. I'm like, oh, one's not enough. I eat two, and I end up just blowing it, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, what Audrey made, it's just as good, if not better, than what I just ate right there.
No, that's right. That's right.
I mean, I couldn't. You can't. If you were to blindfold me, I'd probably pick hers and go, "This tastes kind of cool. I like this." That's the thing, and I don't know why we don't. Well, I do know why the food manufacturers don't do it, but we need to start eating more healthy, and there is alternatives. You just got to know where to go.
That's right.
To get the alternative.
And I mean, I think because I talk to people every day, out in the public and at farmers market and all that, I think that eating a low carb, high fat diet is overwhelming. But you can cook things that are good. I mean, you can cook it, or I can cook it for you. But there are things that are good or better than what you're eating that's processed. And so I think that if you can just wrap your head around making the change, that your body will feel so much better. You'll feel better, and I don't know, it just gives you more energy and a better attitude, and just makes you feel better.
Your body knows what to do with it when you consume it, instead of going, hey, here's a chemical product, I don't know what to do. It's that's a bad response when the body gets these chemicals from your food, because our food is our medicine. And then it reacts in a way that it doesn't understand how to process it. Mm-hmm. So I'll just throw it over here in a fat cell, or it'll affect my mitochondria some way or shape or form. I mean, that's the kind of weirdness that goes on with a lot of these chemicals. Now, again, I'm not saying that if you eat this stuff, you're initially going to die right off the bat. But it does take time for your body to rid itself of these chemicals and some of these toxins that are out there. And it's not something that can be done overnight. You didn't get there overnight, and you're not going to get out of it overnight, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to really, but only you can make the change. But you have to educate yourself on where to go to get the right stuff to make it happen.
And I really think, I mean, people probably shake their head at me, but I really think your change needs to be a permanent, lifelong change, not just, okay, I'm going to do this for the temporary so I can get off the medicine or lose weight or whatever. I think you really need to make the change be a permanent change.
Absolutely.
Because the older we get, then we start having more and more health problems.
Well, and it doesn't get any easier with each passing day, right?
No.
I mean, I'm not like, and what really is another problem is that when we've all been there. We're all young once, right? And bulletproof, at 20 years old. Well, at 20 years old, I could go to the fast food joint, eat junk all day long, eat ramen noodle while I'm cramming for a college exam or whatever, and have no initial effect from that. Right. I was a macaroni and cheese lover. I'd eat 2 boxes, 3 boxes a day. I didn't care. And not gain weight.
Right.
Not gain weight or not feel bad either. But those eating habits were established at that point. So then you go 20 years later or 25 years later, and if you're still doing that, then you wonder, well, why am I 300 pounds and feel bad, and I've got all these other problems going on? It's because I got those eating habits established when I was younger, and it carried over into my young adulthood, which then and on and on and on we go, and you get to a point where you're sick all the time and overweight and not feeling good, and you're thinking, but I don't know why. I'm not doing anything that I normally wouldn't do. Well, yeah, you are. You just don't recognize it because of the length of time that it took. So very interesting stuff. Doctor, just a couple minutes left before we go. Anything else? I mean, it's all been good stuff, but anything else that y'all would like to talk about today before we let y'all out of here, about anything we've talked about, or by the way, how do people get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me. My phone number is 797-7653, or I've got a website, LubbockIntegrative.com. People can get a hold of me that way.
LubbockIntegrative.com.
.com. Yeah. Okay. My practice is Lubbock Integrative Medicine, and so I'm just out on 20th and Memphis Street. So.
That's fantastic. 20th Memphis, right there in the medical district.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate y'all being here today on the show and talking about all these things, because it is important. And we didn't get near to all the topics, but we're going to have you back.
We'll come back another day and bring our list.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, bring it, because we're gonna talk more about that. And so, but I appreciate y'all being with us on the show today right here on Metabolic Coaching. And, of course, well, hopefully we'll see y'all back here next time around. But, again, I appreciate it. And anything else y'all like to say before we go?
Well, Nels, thanks for having us.
Yes,
No,
thank
it's great.
you.
Great show and learned a lot. Thanks again, guys. All right, stick around now. Top of the hour, Unconfused coming up next right here on AM 580.